So today in this video I'm going to talk about which programs I use in my creating process and which are available for you to possibly use in whatever you would like to create for SL. Some of these are free, some of them are not. Some of them are just optional. I mean, there are many options out there when it comes to creating for SL. So this will include programs that allow you to create mesh, including clothing and objects, image editing for creating and editing graphics and photography, just images in general, and programs that will let you create vector images and patterns from your vectors. I'll explain that in a bit. Also, there is a program that can assist you with clothing design, and then I will cover a program that I use, a very small, minimal program for creating poses, static poses. Mostly, I'm not too much into animation. So that's what I will go over, and I'll show you a preview of each and where you can find them. Okay, so I'm just going to start a little bit out of order here and first talk about the programs that are there for image editing and graphics. So I'm going to start with my first most frequently used program. This is my favorite program to use. It's what I was trained on formally and just over the years of using it daily. Probably for 15 or more years now. So this is what I know best. It doesn't mean that other free options aren't as good with getting the job done, but it's just what I prefer. So this is Photoshop. A lot of people are afraid of this program. They feel it's too complex. It is a very powerful program, but the fact that it's so complex only means that there are so many different ways you can achieve, some basic results and goals. So I'm just gonna show you really quick. Let's see. Let's create a new file. Usually when I create a texture or an advertisement, I go with 1024 by 1024 pixels. For SL, or you can go 512 by 512. So Photoshop, this is assuming maybe you've never seen it before, maybe you don't know how to use it. I'm going to do a separate video alone on how to get started with Photoshop, but this is just a brief, quick overview. There are just lots of things you can do here, from drawing to using brushes. Let's see, if I choose a brush, I can either choose a regular tip, just like in any other drawing program, and just draw, or I have the option of using a brush that is a custom shape brush. That's not just a round tip, but it's something that I would have either created myself or downloaded from online. There are all kinds of brushes for all different types of uses, and they are just like stamps. So that is a very handy tool to have, and GIMP also has the ability to use brushes. I'll get into those and how to use those and install those in another video. But also shapes is another thing that I use. Up here are shapes. They work just like brushes, except they are like a vector created forms created by paths, which you can tell by the dots when you have the shape selected. So these are fun to use for whatever purpose. And let's see, there is so much here to Photoshop. I'm not going to be able to get into it all now, but you can illustrate and create logos and things in Photoshop. Let's see, one big use is to edit photography. So if I go into, let's see, where did I have that at? you just want to open a picture. Here we go. Say, for example, I want to create a better image of this. This is an item I made in Mesh for a gotcha set I did earlier this year. So it's kind of flat. The lighting is not that great. It could use a little more contrast, and the lights, could get lighter. So Photoshop is really useful for adding adjustment layers, which are just layers that allow you to overlay effects and then adjustments and corrections and so forth over top of your image. So I'm going to add a levels overlay adjustment layer, which just allows me to kick up the whites, the lighter values, bring down the darks until I have something that's a little is a little bit less flat. Also, you can add a curves adjustment layer and achieve more of a warm or even vintage look to your image. I'll do a video about playing with those. But yeah, it's just really useful for editing photographs. You can crop a photograph if it's not the format or composition that you want, and crop. And you can extract backgrounds, all kinds of things. So this is Photoshop, and I know that most of what Photoshop can do can also be done in GIMP, which is the next free option. So I'm going to close Photoshop for now and go over to GIMP, which is the free option to Photoshop. And I know lots and lots of designers who create for SL use GIMP. A lot use Photoshop. It's up to you what you can afford, what works for you. Same thing, you have layers over here. I'm not a pro with GIMP, to be honest, because I don't use this program on a daily basis, but I do strive to learn at least the basics so I can present this as an option in my videos and to friends. So I'll get into GIMP more at another time also, but same basic tools, brushes. You even have, I think there's a pen tool, yeah, a pen tool, so you can create paths. I don't think I chose yeah, it says it's the path tool. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not too familiar in GIMP, but you can do the same types of things, basic things. So that's GIMP, and then I'm going to jump over to a program called Inkscape, which if you've ever used Adobe Illustrator or heard of it, it's a program, it's what I consider the equivalent to Illustrator, the free equivalent to Adobe Illustrator, which focuses more on vector graphics. So in Photoshop, when you open a photograph or create a graphic or anything like that, it's going to be, unless you create it with paths, it's going to be considered a raster image. A raster image is composed of pixels. I'm not going to get too much into that detail right now, but just know that your resolution, your quality of your image as you scale it up or down is going to depend on what kind of image it is. So Photoshop is mostly raster image based. So for example, let me create a new file here and just try to display what I'm talking about. So if I just take my brush tool, my regular old brush tool, and like make a circle, if I zoom way into the edges of the circle, I don't know if you can see it very clearly on the video, but the edges are created of pixels, the varying shades of color in square pixels. So, if I either create an image in here or open an image like a photograph or something, and I'm wondering why is it not looking very clear, and also the more that you edit an image in Photoshop, and the more you scale it down and like change the size, the more that it can distort the quality of your graphic or image. So it's, you know, use this with caution. Just keep it in mind. In some cases, when you're just creating graphics for the web, like for SL or for on your website or whatever, it's not going to be important to have a vector image because people aren't going to be zooming way into the image like here to see it. So if it's at a distance that it's okay at the quality it's at, then that's fine. However, some reasons that people might want to use a vector-based program like Inkscape, don't know why GIMP is still open, or Illustrator, is because if you were going to take your designs to print, you want the quality of your edges and lines to be crisp and to be able to expand those at a higher resolution. So, and I haven't used Inkscape in a while, so forgive me here while I'm trying to create something. So basically, like when a vector image, like I said, the edges are not composed of pixels like a raster image. They are created by paths which are like math-based, based on math and numbers, so it's more accurate and you have more leeway with like scaling the vector up and retaining quality edges and such. So again, if you were going to want to print your design, it will print better if it's a graphic or a vector, or if you wanted to print it for a larger surface, like say a billboard in real life, you would get better results from a vector image for say like your logo, for example. If you have a logo that has a lot of little detail, like the lettering and little intricate lines, then vector is probably a better way to go than versus creating your logo and all those things in Photoshop. So I need to get reacquainted. I've used this program before. I'm a little rusty right now, but I wish I knew how to zoom in so I could show you the difference in the edges. But see, these free programs, sometimes it's a little difficult to figure out where things are because they're just more basic, but they're great programs. Anyway, I'll do another video on Inkscape and vectors, but another use for vector programs is, for example, if you did a drawing of something like you did a doodle of some kind of shape that you want to use in your project. Let's see. So I have drawings that I did and scanned into the computer, and sometimes I like to use these shapes that I drew in my projects, on my textures, in my designs. So let's see what it's doing here. Okay, it opened the drawing that I scanned in. So one good way to get your drawings to look more crisp and clear is to trace over them in vector, create a vector image from them. So let's see, zoom in. Yes, okay, here we go, zoom. So as you can see from the scan, this is just an image, like a raster image, so the edges are pixelated. So if I want to clean this up, I do have the option to come into this vector program and just trace over. Now I'm not going to be able to probably show you this because I have to become familiar with how to change the color and all that. But I can basically trace over, this is really bad, using this pen tool, the Paths tool, over my design, and when I'm all done tracing over it, I will have a nice crisp vector based line for my shape. And I know you can't see this very well right now, but anyway, it is a way to get a nicer copy of your little drawing, and this is good for using in your projects, or if you wanted to sell your designs, sell your little sketches on places like Creative Market, and for other designers to use as a resource. So that's vector-based programs. I'm not going to go much further into that right now. I'll do another video on that. So let's see, what else do we have? We have, so I'm just going to jump over to now how to get some of these before I go any further. So for Photoshop, you just go on Adobe's website, adobe.com. They have the different packages for using Photoshop. You can use it as a standalone for as little as $10 a month. This is what I have. It's really, if you are serious about creating and you don't want to, mess with GIMP, this is what I consider an affordable option, but if not, the free programs are fine. They do have it bundled with other more expensive plans that would include other programs and little perks like cloud storage and things like that. So, and you can get Illustrator through Adobe as well. You can add Illustrator to your subscription if you don't want to use Inkscape for vectors and patterns. So that's Adobe. And then over here on GIMP.org, you have the ability to download GIMP for free. So I'm not going to download it, I just did. But GIMP is really easy to install and use. So that's free. And then Inkscape is also free at inkscape.org. And you can just download for your system. And then I'm going to jump over now to the mesh programs, which includes Blender. This is my primary program that I use. It's the only program I use actually. It's free. It's what I learned, what I taught myself to use, and it's, it's great. A lot of designers use Blender. You can download it from blender.org, and let me open that up really quick to show you what that looks like. And I will do my own little version of tutorials on how to use Blender for SL. There are other people doing it better than I will in more detail. They know more about it. But I'm just going to include that in my series, a basic level of that, how to use Blender the way I use it. So this is Blender. This is piece of mesh. And yeah, I won't lie, Blender is a scary program at first. Years ago, when I first downloaded it and was trying to use it, I had no idea how to even turn my camera around in this program to look at the piece of mesh. I had no idea how to select it. I had no idea how to edit any of the vertices. Nothing. I knew how to do nothing, and I just closed it back out, and I didn't come back to it for another few years because I was just scared of learning how to do this. So then one day I just thought, everything's mesh now. There's no way around it. This is free. A lot of people use it, so I'm just going to try to find a way to teach myself. And I did, little by little. If you are new to Blender, I can't get into all the details now. I will do a whole other separate set of videos for that. But what I can tell you is it's not a good idea to jump in and try to learn how to create and edit mesh right away. You're not going to jump in here and know how to, make something or even edit something. But what you can do, what is a good idea to do, is to start with just learning how to navigate this. I mean, look at this interface, all of these buttons, all of these tabs. Most of the navigating in Blender is keyboard based, and it utilizes all the buttons on your mouse if you have it set that way. So there is a lot to learn just in learning how to navigate this program before you even try to create or edit a piece of mesh. So I would say just start with navigating. I'll start my series on that soon. But this is Blender. This is home to me. This window is what I stare at every day for hours a day to create my projects. So I'm very comfortable with it now. I can say as somebody who knew absolutely nothing about it and was terrified of it to someone who is very comfortable with it and it's like second nature now. I can say honestly that if you have the desire and drive to want to get something out of this program, if you just practice and take it step by step and don't leave, big gaps of time where you're not using it because you'll forget. If you're really serious and driven and passionate about what you want to create using this program, you will be able to do it. So it's just as simple as that. So that's Blender. Again, that's available at blender.org for free. And I will make a note that if you are using Blender for creating clothing and or rigging for avatars, and I guess it does assist with creating animations. I'm not too sure about that area of it, but you want to consider getting the plugin called Avastar. It's available for purchase in World 6500L, which is steep, but it's one time that you pay and you get free updates. Or you can purchase it, I guess here she has it available through PayPal on her website. And that is a very helpful set of tools in Blender for rigging clothing and avatars. So I have this and it's just really helpful. So that's another little add-on for Blender. The paid version for Mesh, one of the paid options is Maya, which is by Autodesk. Apparently they have a free trial so you can feel it out. I guess they have a subscription now too, so that's an option, but it is very, very steeply priced and I've never used it. I don't plan to. Many designers do. I'm sure it's an awesome program and can probably achieve quality better than Blender. I'm not sure, but that's up to you if you want to invest in that or not. I choose not to, but they do have options here. So their website is autodesk.com. That's for Maya. And they do have resources out there, lots of resources and classes for people teaching Maya. So it's not just all about Blender. If you choose to use it, there will be resources for you out there for that as well. Also another little add-on here or little side program that assists with creating clothing, mesh clothing, is Marvelous Designer. I can't tell you anything about this program. Let me just be honest, I've never used it. I don't know if I plan to use it. It is very steeply priced as well. $60 a month. I mean, if you're already an accomplished designer and already making that back, why not? But if you aren't, it's something to consider that you would have to invest in and come out of pocket for. So, I know that this is a program that is supposed to help in the process of laying out your design for the clothing or the outfit. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know it helps. I've heard that it helps. So it's something to consider as well as part of your process for creating clothing if you want. That is at marvelousdesigner.com. I don't have it installed, so I can't show you a preview of it, but there it is. And let's see. I think the last program to cover that is something that I use to create poses, because since I create furniture, if I create a chair or a couch or something to sit on, sometimes I need to have a certain type of pose to fit that piece of furniture. So I'll just come over to QAvimator, which is also free at qavimator.org. Free to download and free to use. It's a very simple, basic program. It's not anything fancy. I know there are other programs out there. I used to know what they were, but I don't anymore because I just use QAvimator because what I do is just simple. It's to do poses, again, for your either, pose packages that you want to sell in SL, or if you just want to put it in a piece of furniture. So I use this all the time, and I'll do a video. I did an old video on how to use it. I'll do a new one. And it's just very helpful for when you just can't find that pose, that perfect pose that you want. Um, this is a good program to use. It's, as you can see, it's very limited interface, very easy to use, once you try it. Can't really go wrong here. So that's QAvimator, and that was over at, let's see, qavimator.org. It's a very old program, but it's still free, it's still there, and it still works. So I think that about covers it for all of the programs that either I use or that are available for you to use. Some of the options, there are many more programs for all of these different functions and purposes that are out there that you can try, but these are what I've either tried or what I've looked into or what I've heard of the most. So that's all for now. If you have any questions about any of these programs, or if there's something I missed or got wrong here, just let me know. Leave me a comment or a message, and thank you for watching.